Hello, my Wellish friends. Today I'm sitting down with Cynthia Schwartzberg, a licensed clinical social worker, therapist, trainer, speaker, and author of The Curious Voyage to Authenticity and creator of Harmonic Brain Healing. Cynthia has spent decades helping people understand how old wounds, nervous system patterns, and survival strategies can quietly shape the way we show up in our relationships, our boundaries, and our sense of self-worth. Her work is especially powerful for anyone who has ever felt like they needed to earn love, prove themselves, keep the peace, or put everyone else's needs before their own. So today, we're discussing authenticity, self-trust, boundaries, and the hidden ways we disconnect from ourselves without even realizing it. Cynthia, welcome to Wellish. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Sarah. This is fun.
You said you have spent decades helping people heal trauma and reconnect with themselves. So can you tell me what makes you so fascinated about this work?
So ever since I was young, I always thought there was a little bit more to life than working and, paying your bills. And when I was a young adult, I started out seeking and looking for that something more and just started on a self-growth path myself, which is becoming more and more mainstream. So that's very lovely about all that. And it was very body, mind, spirit oriented. So I think I learned a lot at a young age. I don't always know that that's the best before you learn some concrete skills too. But that was my life journey.
Okay, I want to know what you mean by that, because I feel like I very much relate to what you just said.
I think that there was some naivety maybe in me. So I don't think emotionally I had confidence.
Okay.
Enough I can do this. So life was very gifting to me. So I met people who needed a receptionist. I became a receptionist at an advertising PR firm. And then I moved up into accounting and production assistant, account exec, so I just organically gravitated well with that. But I don't know, through all of it, I had much either social self-esteem, or there were shall we say that our growing up years influence our capacity to feel in charge and good in life. And so I think for myself, I was pretty wounded, which then made me a little bit more spaced out. So when we're wounded, some of us get very spacey, some of us get very feisty, some of us get very withdrawn. Kind of goes along with fight, flight, or freeze, right? So I was kind of spacey. So I think that being spacey, not having a lot of self-confidence, did really affect me in some ways. But then I realized, when I reflect back at this point, I think I was kind of, there was also this stubborn streak in me. And it was at the same time also a fighter. My facade didn't show it. So talking about being pretentious and what society will accept of you, my facade maybe didn't show it. I think certain people who hired me saw it. But I don't think I owned it. So I think when we're kind of wounded, we don't own our essence in the bestest of ways.
Something happens to you maybe early on, and that's how you learn how to cope in the world, and you become spacey, or you become feisty, or you insert this survival mode. Is that what you think people get wrong when they're trying to go about growth and healing? That they think that they should just start where they intellectually think that they can be, instead of addressing where they actually are?
Well, it depends upon the growth and healing. So I think of growth and healing as me getting self-reflective of how did this happen? What was my part in it? But this is a better answer. That's, I think, what I missed when I was younger, because I took everything as, there's something wrong with me. And I matched with self-responsibility. So when I think that something's wrong with me, and then I'm trying really hard to do my work on myself and dig for what my part in something is. I'm always looking for what my part is, and I don't really see the bigger picture of what everybody else's part is in it too. And maybe it wasn't always my fault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that that's where that lack of self-confidence, taking self-responsibility, but the undertow. So when things happen when we're younger, we make these conclusions about life, right? So if one of my conclusions is I don't belong, I'm not good enough, I don't matter, these are really core beliefs. And that's going to then drive me towards my self-growth. If I'm using that in a way against myself, but I think I'm using it for the better of my growth, that's when it gets a little twisted.
Okay, that's what I'm curious about. Is in your experience when people are searching and they say they want confidence or self-worth or healthier relationships, what is it that they're actually looking for?
A sense of self.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm looking for a healthy relationship, the relationship is not going to give me a state of peace of mind, self-confidence, and belief in the better of who I truly am.
Mm-hmm.
A relationship will mirror to me where I'm at. Now, sometimes, though, that mirror is, I got to get out of this relationship. And I learn my strength to go.
Yeah.
Because some people are just genuinely so good-natured, they don't realize that some predators are taking advantage of that.
Amen. So when you say sense of self, what does that look like? Like, how does somebody decide whether they've gotten that or not?
So, years ago, as a friend said to me, you can really tell a person by who they hang with. So even in our brains, our neurons that are wired together, that's because they've been firing together and they've set certain patterns. So I may not know, but if I have people validating me, encouraging me, supporting me, saying, yeah, you can do it, then those are very positive mirrors. Because if I don't have a good sense of self and I feel empty and I feel lost and I feel lonely, then I probably have grown up in a space or a place where I didn't get a good enough foundation built while I was growing up. So then what I get mirrored back to me is, let's do that later. Let's not bother. Let's go hang. Let's get high. Let's, who gives it, damn. Whatever that is, like that just doesn't go towards the bestest of you. Like if somebody wants to be a artist, but they haven't really perfected any talent. They haven't really tried it. And the mirror back to them is like, what makes you think you can do that in some form or another? Or that's what they heard. And that's what they internally now have mirrored to themselves. Because we will talk to ourselves the way we've been treated many times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then that's probably not where you're going to get good nourishment to grow and change.
Yeah. We talk to ourselves the way that we've been treated. That was a really powerful line. I think too, when you say that, it makes me think that that's why we repeat the same relationship patterns.
Yes. Well, we repeat the same relationship patterns with the hope that this time it will be different. So the outcome might look different. But in there with my same script. Here's my script. Like I'm on that video. I'm making the same video. Look at the new characters.
Yeah. And like almost trying to prove that narrative wrong. Because if we can just conquer it, then it'll go away. Wow. Cynthia, that's interesting. I love that.
Or I'm blind. So I think that I can help make you a better person.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, there was this book, Women Who Love Men Who Hate Them.
Okay. I love that.
And then there's this other book called Why Men Love Bitches.
I have that one.
Yeah. So it's good. Well, I would say try a little bit of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I love that.
Because I was not that bitch. I was like the one that was like trying and trying and trying. And I then went to Al-Anon and I discovered that when I keep trying, it was really all about my problem, not the other person.
That's interesting.
Right. And if I'm trying, then I'm probably also trying to control.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
If I ask you to do something more than once, then I'm trying to control. These are hard, like, why not have a V8 splash in, cold water in your face realities about us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But if I go into a relationship and I am thinking this time it will be different. Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking about the book about being a bitch. That means stand up for yourself. Mm-hmm. It's a good title, but it's got some good value in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it makes me think that that's why so many intelligent, self-aware people keep finding themselves in these same painful relationship dynamics, because you think that you have these core values and you're following these core values of honesty and loyalty, but then you end up making excuses for people, very logical, normal excuses for people, but it keeps you in those same dynamics.
Well, I think also because you're seeing the people through your eyes. Like, I would never treat somebody that way. Mm-hmm. So you can't comprehend that somebody would treat you that way.
Yes, I always say that. You cannot wrap your mind around behavior that you would never engage in.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
So you talk about old wounds and how they shape present day relationships. So can you talk about what that looks like in everyday life?
An old wound could be, let's say, I was just neglected. And my mother was really busy. My father was never home. I had to take care of my younger siblings. And I'm feeling empty, but I'm feeling very responsible. But I'm on some level, I'm also very exhausted. Mm-hmm. Well, when I go out into the world, I'm really nice. I know how to take care of people, and I'm very efficient. And then I'm still empty, lonely, and over-responsible. And I'm not really taking care of my real needs. That could
interesting.
Be an example. Another example could be like, my parents were divorced. I'm never going to get divorced. I'm going to make it work. So I'm going to work really hard, and I'm going to set a really good example for my kids, and I'm going to try really hard. And then who knew? I married my mother, father's sister, brother, whatever.
Yeah.
And like somehow, all of a sudden, I'm working both ends of a relationship. I'm fighting for something that I don't want to have happen. And I'm going against the current of life.
Yeah.
Or, I have pretty decent friends and relationships. But at work, my boss, oh my God, no matter what I do, it's never right. Who's my boss?
Interesting. Well, it's fascinating because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it seems so clear cut when you give the example like that. And you could see, now that you've said that to us, what that could be in your own life. But I think when we're moving through the day-to-day, it is so subconscious. Like, we just fully think that we're doing that from a genuine place and not from a wounded place.
Right, because also when we're doing it from trying, it does have a heart connection to it. Right?
Okay.
So it's from my good nature.
Yeah.
And just like looking at you into this conversation, it's like you have a lot of good nature, right?
Thanks. Yeah.
I suspect that a lot of your listeners are attracted here to hear this because they're also coming from good nature.
Yeah.
And we talked earlier about being what society wants us to be. That's another way that we get really lost. And this is how I put it in my book. So, like, let's say this is me. I'm going out into the world and I'm trying really hard and I want to please because I come from a space of love and I want to please and look at this space between my hands. To me, I think that's my anxiety. Because if this is me, I'm that far separated from who I innately am.
Okay. Interesting.
I have to come back home to myself, to my true values and my priorities. And if part of my value is to see people for who they innately are, then I have to stop fogging out and pretending somebody's not as good as they say they are. Like some people, their words and their actions don't match.
Amen. Yeah. Amen.
In our bestest of wanting to see the best in people, we listen to the words.
So it's so easy to listen to the words.
But then we get lost in relationship, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if anytime I've been in a situation that I'm listening to the words, I'm not learning the language of action, I am fully in that subconscious loop of thinking that people operate in the same way that I do, that I'm doing things out of the kindness of my heart and not from my wounds. How do we wake up from that? Like, what are some signs that we're just reacting to our partner or our friend or our family member, but really we're responding to something that is much deeper and older inside of us?
We're getting stomach aches. We're getting headaches. We're getting chest pain.
Physically. Interesting.
One way.
Okay.
We're making excuses for other people.
That's a huge one.
We're all of a sudden not showing up for certain things. Where in the not showing up for certain things, we're showing up for the other one, but not for things that were used to be part of our life.
Okay.
So like a hibernating over time kind of thing.
Interesting.
We're trying to do too much for both people in the relationship. And then we're lost.
Yeah, totally. I feel like another one that I think of too is like getting easily triggered by small comments that they'll inflict this strong emotional reaction. Why does that happen?
I was just thinking of this time that I remember just like the smallest things just getting me so bad. So every morning I would wake up and my ex would do something and it was just irking and irking and irking. And it was coming up to our anniversary and I was out with a friend and I was telling her, I don't know what I should get. And she goes, what would happen if you stopped complaining about that? So
interesting.
Yeah. So I think that what happens is when there's not enough satisfaction on a certain number of levels in a relationship, then because all those little things pile up, so the littlest thing becomes a big thing because becomes symbolic of the big thing.
So essentially, because you're not confronting that deeper wound within you and realizing your role in the situation, when those triggers come up in our day-to-day life that are just random bullshit throughout our life, we have such strong reactions to it. But if we healed that core wound, that wouldn't happen so much.
No, because our nervous system, trauma builds on top of trauma. But also when I'm building that way, my tunnel visions, I'm very narrow perspective of life. And I'm also running life on a belief system. That's not the truth of life.
Interesting.
Right.
Like that your perception is obviously not always reality. I would say most of the time not.
Right. It's like that's their point of view or that's a point of view or is it really true now? It was then. But so the past and the present, it's like these two photos come together and they're like one common denominator. Because I see the present as I saw the past. Somebody pressed the pause button on my tape recorder when I was 10 or when I was 3. And so I grew intellectually, I grew physically, I grew socially, or I learned to mask it to grow socially, but I didn't fully grow emotionally. And I didn't grow because, before the age of 10 also, we see things very concrete. So I didn't grow with my neocortex, my front brain. I grew with my emotions and my nervous system. So I will not see things fully accurate.
Interesting. So because you're seeing with the more dominant part.
The more dominant part, the more, the part that's stronger in a way, like a muscle.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what do you do to even that out?
You start to become aware. Awareness, curiosity, inquiry, wonder, starting to ask questions, doing some physical movement, like they say, count to 10 before you react. Like, people can't always count to 10 before they react. They react and then maybe they go, oh yeah, I should have counted.
Oh yeah. Totally.
But if I build my resiliency in other space and time, in little increments, in small ways, in safer experimental places, for example, at the grocery store, if somebody cuts me off, what happens if I just if I just take a breath and go, maybe they're in a rush, or would you like to go ahead? Like courtesy and kindness can go really like a long way. And then I can see, this is not a place of like where you're getting taken advantage of. This is a place of what really matters. And was that somebody's real intent or not?
Yeah, I can picture what you're saying, though, that like you're not taking the guy cutting you off as some petty thing to suddenly let your body fill with rage. You're saving those emotions for times that they're actually warranted, like when you are genuinely being taken advantage of. And through that, it builds that muscle.
Yes.
Okay.
But one you can do, like journaling has really shown a lot of positive effects on people, right? So reflect on each day. What got me irritated today? What was I grateful for today? Gratitude helps to build new neural pathways. So we want to build our awareness. We want to build our strength towards more resiliency in our nervous system. Meditation, focusing on an object. They have this meditation candle. They're cute, these cute little candles. You can get them for like, they burn for literally 20 minutes. And just focus on a candle for like 20 minutes. And just thoughts come and thoughts go. Just like, oh, hi. Oh, there goes my thinking again. Just do whatever you need to do. Some people can't sit still. So you don't. You go for a walk and just count your steps. And then when the thoughts come in, go back to counting your steps. Like count and repeat.
Yeah. I love the embracing what you are. Like that you're not trying to fight the fact that you have thoughts when you meditate. You just watch them go and, are not judging that you're having thoughts, just noticing that they're there and then coming back to center. That if you can't sit still, work with that, go on a walk, like not trying to fit yourself in this box of what I think a lot of us have been taught nowadays about what we should be doing, but working with who you are, which kind of brings me back to what we were talking about before and building your sense of self and how you were talking about coming back to your most authentic place.
Yeah, like this is who I am. This is how I function. This is what I need for now. It may not be an always. I used to admire people that did yoga. I could not sit still to do yoga. Oh, I mean, during the pandemic, I got my 200 hours, but it's much later in life, experience. But and when we go back to the thing about the mirrors, I was talking to you about who's around. In the in my book, I suggest write on a Post-it, like some of the positive things that somebody has said about you. And then every time you see that Post-it, read it, take a deep breath, like take those words in, like, is it the most delicious food you ever ate? And then move it. Because if something is there all the time, we forget what's there. We don't read it. We don't pause. We don't take it in. So move it around so it becomes a new, like, little surprise for you. And then think about it and reflect on it. I used to imagine myself in the center of a circle, and the people that were present, like my coach and my therapist and, positive friends in my life, looking at me. And I, one by one, I would just look into their eyes and just breathe and just feel what they saw in me that I couldn't see yet in myself. And then I go to this is all my imagination, but then I'd look at the next person, because I know how they felt towards me. There was a lot of kindness. There was a lot of goodness. There was a lot of appreciation. There was a lot of belief, until I can take it in for myself.
Absolutely. It's a cool practice. I'm absolutely going to be doing that because you can picture it. When you said it, it just kind of makes me feel like warm in my chest to think about. And it's funny because when you're in what I call the shitstorm of your mind, you think you can get into these, like, nobody likes me. I always do everything wrong. I don't know whatever. I'm the common denominator, whatever. But I mean, when you really genuinely sit back and think, you know that, like, it's an energy thing. I almost believe that, like, how people view you.
Right. And you need to, like, expand your energy to that space. Just like breathe it in and just imagine as if your auric field, like, just moves out more and moves out. So you can receive more. I used to, like, cry or, like, go, oh, no, that's not so. Just thank you, like those kinds of things. And then I thought, well, what happens if this is the most delicious food I ever ate? I'm just going to chew on it and just literally I would have visualized it going through my digestive system. And actually, I have a little talk through of this, I think, on my YouTube channel you guys can have. So then just imagining it going all the way through, and then whatever I wanted goes into my circulatory system. Whatever I don't want goes out the other end. But another thing, this will be fun for you to talk about mirrors, is in the Curious Voyage, I have this thing called You Are Magnificent. So my friend, she was really beautiful and, like, tall and blonde and, like the model of Madison Avenue look. So I call her up, she goes, hello, gorgeous. And I'm like, hello? I decided, it's so subjective, because everything that's in here, like what you were just saying, it doesn't work for me. I wake up and it's like the critic is, like, nonstop. It's like, I didn't think yet, like, chill. So I decided to try. Every time I looked in the mirror or when I saw my reflection walking down the street, I would do this. And it took a little bit, but it worked. I don't look in the mirror. I don't bother worrying about a scale. I just, like, I just accept who I am and appreciate myself for what I've got.
I love that. Okay, well, so with that in mind, can you tell me, what is your definition of self-abandonment?
When I believe what somebody else says about me that may not really be true about me, but also when I go against my values and my priorities.
That's interesting.
I have abandoned myself.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Why do so many people confuse self-sacrifice with love? Kind of how we were talking about earlier.
Well, I do believe some people are taught that.
Interesting. I agree with that.
Religiously speaking, that, and also, like, here we are in the US, but there's other cultures that is communal before individual, especially in the Far East. So we have to just take it into context of the conversation, just to put that part out. But I think that, so besides like from a cultural place, we'll put it that way, right? I think that I am taught, oh, don't do that. That's not being kind to them. But it's like, but it would hurt me. Well, it will be okay. Don't you worry about that. Those are the messages that we've been given in our society, in the Western society, especially in America, a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so interesting. You are definitely taught to put other people's feelings above your own because it feels easier to deal with the repercussions that you personally would have to deal with compared to the repercussions of hurting others, because that's out of your control.
You know, that's a really interesting thing you just said. So years ago, I was on this journey. There's a teaching called the vicious circle of love. And it talks about how we will punish ourselves before other people will punish us because we can control that punishment. So it's a more complicated teaching, but the thing that is that I will put other people first because I can't control the reactions, but I can control myself.
Which is kind of funny now that we're talking about it and we're thinking about it out loud. I can't help but think like, do we though? Like, it feels like you're controlling yourself, but we were just talking about, we wake up and that critic won't shut the fuck up. No matter what we do, we don't want it to be a thing. If we could control it, we would. So it's kind of like, you can't even control you. So why are you doing it?
Okay, then we can't win.
Yeah, right.
There actually is some, okay, so the science version of this is there's this Jack Schwartz. So wrote this book called Brain Lock. And he does say to label it and then you need to replace it with something fantastic and wonderful. So Norman Deutsch and Jack Schwartz wrote a chapter in this really cool book called The Brain That Changes Itself. And in the chapter, they talk about these experiments. And there's a part of our brain that goes from thought to thought to thought. But sometimes it gets stuck. So these thoughts that we're kind of laughing about, they're probably stuck loops in our brain.
That's interesting.
So the thing called neuroplasticity basically just means like we can redirect our thoughts. And the more you redirect your thoughts over time, it's like it's going to build new train tracks, right? So like if thoughts are like tracks and they're going along the track and they're stuck, they keep going back to the wrong track. So we want to lay down a new foundation and build new tracks. Okay, so we can do that. So, and in their book, they suggest to think about something fantastic and wonderful, because then, as you were talking about vibration and energy, as if I say to you, every time you get that, oh, I can't do this, think about going to the beach, or think about going to the mountains, or think about the sunrise. Nature offers so much possibility for us to shift into a new perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Like an anchoring thought, essentially.
Yes, but not just the thought, the sensation, the feeling. We need to include body. We're going to really change, I believe we have to include our bodies.
Yeah, I keep hearing you say that in different ways. I love that. I like that you keep bringing it back to the physical. When things are going wrong, you notice it physically. When you're trying to get away from that, you have to focus on how you feel physically.
Yeah, because it's which can move first, my thoughts or my body?
Right. Yeah, your body, for sure.
Highway. We were teaching about this in a training one day. I was driving down the highway and this guy almost like cut me off. And I thought, well, that's a really good example, because if I thought, oh, turn, look, gee, car coming, I would have crashed.
100%.
Faster, right?
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I love that. I'm curious. I have heard you talk a lot about, being a genuine caring person. So especially from your point of view, I wonder, what does healthy compassion look like when it's not self-abandonment? Like, what does it look like to be incredibly caring while still honoring yourself?
So there's a woman, Olga Klemensky and Tanya Singer. They did a research project about the difference between empathy and compassion. So positive people often tend to be very empathic. Oh, I'm so sorry for you. Let me see if I can help you fix that. Let's try. Maybe we need to do this. But I feel it. I can really feel what you're feeling. And then like, oh yeah, I felt that once too. And now I'm down this downward spiral. Actually, it does pull from different parts of our brain. But then if I feel for you, and it's like, is there something that I can do? I'm here for you. Let me listen. So I am very attuned, attentive to you. It didn't go down my own natural pathways, I didn't make it about me. Didn't over-identify with you. We're both now not talking about our miserable whatevers. But I'm creating, bearing witness and giving space for you. You know, when somebody dies, what do? We sit and we listen to whatever the other person wants to tell, the loved one wants to tell us about their loss. That's bearing, that's compassion.
Interesting. The difference between compassion and empathy. That is really interesting. I think that's definitely something that I know I personally could focus on more, but that I think we don't really think about that often, because I think that obviously empathy is a great quality and we don't realize where it can really steer us in the wrong direction. And I can picture that is where people that have such strong empathy and maybe are less in tune with the compassion in a way can get so tripped up with the concept of boundaries, which I know you talk about as well, that I can picture if you have a hard time receiving no, or you know what it would feel like to reject somebody else, it's so hard for us to like set that boundary as well. Yeah.
Yeah, then you don't want to say no. Like, I've said no, but I feel really guilty. It's like, what's that real guilt about? You know, real guilt is more about I betrayed myself in that I didn't, or where I feel guilty because I said yes when I meant no, or no when I meant yes. Like, when do I say yes when I mean no? And when do I say no when I mean yes?
Yeah, totally. I think of the control that we were talking about earlier, and I'm curious how you know the difference between a genuine boundary and an attempt to control someone else's behavior.
Well, it's probably we never really can control somebody else's behavior.
Totally.
Behavioral therapy, or, you know, we can reinforce positive behavior. But if somebody's not respecting you, they're just not respecting you. I don't think you're going to be able to control it to be different. And, you know, you can look at their relationships, how they treat other people. Is it really just you? If it is just you, maybe doing a little digging about what do you believe and why are you only seeing it that way? You know, like all that kind of work. But if I think that I can't have that much power over somebody else, I better think again.
Yeah. I think that a lot of the time, like, again, like intellectually, we know that the only person we can control is ourselves, but then we find ourselves in these situations that we are over explaining or defending ourselves or asking for permission. So I guess I'm curious how someone can set a boundary without doing those things.
Get really curious about who you're doing that with and what are you hoping to get.
Interesting.
Then you may want to ask yourself, would I ever get that in this arena? And what's the price I'm paying to get that? You know, if we start to ask what's the price I'm paying for this or that, we will discover whether we really want to pay that price or not.
And I think that comes back to our worth, right? Like that we have this need to prove ourselves. And that's why we're doing that, over explaining and trying to get them to understand us.
Well, it also goes back to what you said earlier about like sacrificing self for the other.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, well, I thought that's what you wanted, or I thought that's what you needed.
Mm-hmm.
I did learn, like, along the way of, like, especially in Al-Anon, nobody asks for my opinion. Sometimes I give it, right?
Yeah, amen. Same.
That it will impact you. But that's control. That's trying to control another person.
Yeah,
So
totally.
you can't say, are you interested in my opinion? Or if somebody starts talking, it's like, how would you like me to sit with you around this? You can ask up front. So we can front end things a lot more maybe than we do.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because I think a lot of the time things that hold us back from asking what other people's needs are or expressing our own needs is that you think that it's less authentic, when in reality, you're getting curious about how another person operates and are actually seeking to understand somebody. And I think that is so much more powerful and heartwarming and connecting than just like the fact that you guessed. It's kind of like giving gifts to people. Like, you think that it means more if you guessed what the person likes because you're proving that you know them so well, instead of being like, what do you need? What would make your life genuinely better that I can spend my money on to improve your life?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are some people that love to give gifts and they do nail it really well.
It's genuinely impressive.
But yeah, sometimes it's better to ask. But if you don't have that if you don't have that quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. It makes me think of the roles that we play, like that we've got, like and you briefly touched on them earlier: good girl, helper, fixer, high achiever. Why is that those identities sometimes become a survival strategy?
I think originally they were a survival strategy because, first of all, and they're taken from some of our innate qualities. So if I'm genuinely kind and I'm assessing for survival, like a situation, like in my home environment, if my mother or father are very flary, then I'll just, like, kind of go, well, what would you like, Mom? Or what do you need? Or and like, I remember as a little kid, there was this story where my mother said we would go shopping. She said I was 3 years old. Catch this. So she would say, what shoes do you want? My sister goes, I want these. And I said, well, which ones do you want me to have? I was the good little girl. So
I relate to that so much. I'm like, Mommy, pick it for me.
like, don't stir the waters. These are not okay waters for whatever reason.
God.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And I think in my household, my mother was probably more overt than covert. Because when I've been around covert people, it's like, I get it. Don't stir the waters. But I could never really quite understand. And that's why I say it to some of your listeners. Some of us are just genuinely very tender and empathic. And we have these high antennas, and we picked up a lot in our environment, even though a lot wasn't necessarily said. So just to be self-honoring around that, for people. But so if we learned these roles and they served us well when we originally needed them, challenges, we're not in the same arena. Like, I'm not a 3-year-old. I know how to drive a car. I can get out of a situation. I have more options, right? But if I'm still playing that role to try to please you, then going back to what we were talking about before, that's how those wounds of the past show up in the present.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I can leave a situation that's not really okay.
Yeah, fully. And it's interesting the way that it becomes so innate to the point that we almost think that it's who we are, and it's not. It's fully a survival strategy. And I think what happens when we do that, and I'm curious what your opinion is on this, I feel like we then go to pursue a goal that we're trying to prove we're enough, or we're trying to prove whatever thing it is that we learned, instead of pursuing it because we genuinely want to. How do you know the difference? Like, which one?
Well, we have gotten really far away. Like, that goes back to that hand thing. Now we're
Yeah.
really far away from ourselves. And going back to how do you start a self-inquiry? I do have a lot of this in the book. My book, The Curious Voyage to Authenticity, is packed with exercises to help around this, like the roles and everything that you're talking about. So I'll just say, though, that you can, going back to energy, if I feel like a pushing, then I need to try to get curious. Is this hard? Is this easy? If something feels like it's hard, but also has an easiness to it because it feels like I'm in the flow. So like an athlete, like something might be hard, like it's hard to do what they do, right? But yet they're in a flow, so it's easy in that moment. So if I am doing something and it has a certain pleasure and a relaxation to it, then it's probably the right thing. So some people, for example, had to go become like doctors or lawyers. I was talking to a lawyer recently. He said a lot of people that went to law school because that's what was expected of them. So if people, I think, do know what was expected of them, and they don't really fully know, is it because it was expected or because I long for it or it feels good? That's what you're asking about. And I would say to get really curious with yourself, that if you're not coming from a rebellion and there's still something in your heart or something like in your vibe that just feels like, I kind of do like it, but I don't want to admit it. So we have to put down our pride around it. And I'm going to put down my self-will around it because I'm not going to come from my rebellion. And it feels right, then go for it. But these are like textures in our quiet moments of feeling into ourselves, into our thoughts, and into our bodies of what just feels good.
So whatever feels relaxed is more what your authentic self is.
Yes, authentically, it feels relaxed. It's in alignment with my values and my priorities. And I'm not like egoic about it.
Yeah. Okay.
But
interesting.
Authentically, I don't know, but I feel a yes.
Yeah.
And I
fully,
like, there's times like you can each maybe take a moment to think about your life. And wasn't there a time when it just felt like you didn't have to ask the question why?
Yeah. Yeah.
That might be a good clue to know where that's coming from.
Do you think it's the ego that is what gets in the way of people becoming their authentic selves?
I would say there's healthy ego, and then there's like prideful, my way or the highway kind of ego. So a healthy ego reminds me of our appointment. It's like the executive in me that keeps me flowing. Well, the alarm went off. I don't really have time to sleep in today. I've got to get going. Or I want to read this. I want to check in on that. Like, it helps us move around and function, right? An unhealthy ego is, I want you to see how great this is. It's really important to me that you like it. Did you like it? Did you really like it? Like that.
Reassurance.
Like getting the assurance. But at the same time, we do need certain level of assurance, but not from a place of you're going to fulfill that spot inside me.
For sure. Okay. So can you explain to me, or can you define for me who is your authentic self? Like, what is authenticity?
I think that is a great question. So I think it is where it comes from my heart. it's the all of me that isn't trying to please, to get, to control, to manipulate, but it's more like the part of me that just feels like I'm in the flow of life. I'm my focus is to contribute, to do good, to be present, to live in the here and now, to have a state of love, state of trust, state of well-being. And for each of us, these will show up differently. For some of us, it could be just be feeling at peace under a tree. For somebody else, it could be helping a neighbor. But the authenticity is where it's coming from the heart.
I love that.
And it's just out of the goodness of being a human being, because organically we long to connect, to be heard, to be understood, and to offer that to each other.
It sounds like something that you can implement right away if you just start moving from that place. But obviously, we've built so many habits and survival skills and all of the stuff that I can picture. It's obviously harder to unlearn a lot of those things, but you can with time and intention. So is it through that constant kind of like when we were talking about meditation, like constant, like noticing when it's happening and bringing ourselves back? Is how do we reconnect with ourselves after years of becoming who we thought we had to be?
I would say with curiosity. Get curious, get aware. Like we're on automatic pilot. And then when I sit still and I start to look at, like this is I do a class on the Curious Voyage, and I watch on the screen people changing week to week with this stuff. So what I'm going to tell people is get curious. So if we look at body, mind, spirit, so start to listen to things that nourish you. Start to get curious about your days. Ask those questions. Like, is it for me? Is it for the better good? Is it to please? Those kinds of questions will help with what you just said, Sarah. Like, is it my mask or is it genuine? What was the difference between my mask or my genuine? Well, I'm not going to really out in public say, somebody, what's wrong with you, jerk, right? I might be thinking that, but I may just be considerate. I may not be sickly sweet, which is more genuine to me. To be respect the fact that that's what I'm thinking. Okay, well, why am I thinking that? That's a judgment. Why would I be judging that person? I don't know that other person's hardship. I have no idea before this moment that I crossed paths with that person. What's up with them? Can I be kind enough to give them grace? Can I be kind enough to accept that I don't know? Because if I'm judging somebody, that is my ego. That's my mask. That's me like feeling like afraid of, like, maybe I don't want to be a jerk, so I'm going to judge somebody else for being a jerk, but maybe I really was kind of jerky.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes me think of self-trust. And I think that like when we have spent so much time focused in the negative, we'll say, that when you turn to this mentality and you start getting curious about your authenticity, that you almost don't know if you can trust it and like what's real. And I think that for a long time, I believed, and I know I'm not the only one that gets this screwed up, is that we think that self-trust is so much about certainty, and that when we know that something is true, then that's when we can believe it. But I think it's something else entirely. And it's just this idea that no matter what, no matter what's going on, you're going to have your own back. You're going to have self-compassion.
Yeah, but you said a couple of really important things. You said self-trust. And before we were talking about betrayal, self-betrayal. If I say I'm going to do something and I don't live up to my word, how's my friend going to trust me? Right? Okay, so turn that back on self. If I say that you can start with little things. If I say I'm going to take a walk around the block and I don't take a walk around the block, I'm not going to trust myself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
But you can start with things like that and just say, okay, if I don't set a goal, like a little tiny thing. Okay, then I'm going to walk down the driveway and pick up the mail and come back.
Mm-hmm.
And if I did that, like, how is it that we brush our teeth every day? Something became a habit. Well, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
He does, sorry.
But put clothes on.
Right.
Get out of bed, whatever. Yeah. Hopefully.
Right. But yes, we have to start somewhere and then live into it. And that trust has to be built. The same way if somebody wronged you and they want you to trust them, they have to earn it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely.
So that's not because you're testing them. That's a reality of repair in a relationship too.
Yeah.
But that's the same with us.
Yeah, definitely. If someone listening today has spent years trying to earn their worth, prove themselves, or become good enough, what would you want that person to know?
I would want them to know that they are.
That's
I would want them to
I
know
love
that they're worthy, just like everybody else on this planet. They're valuable. They're good enough.
I love it. So to wrap us up, I have a set of 12 rapid fire questions for you. I play this game with my guest. It's called Kinda Toxic, Kinda Well, highlighting the humanity of all my guests. So however you feel called to answer, I've got 12 rapid fire questions for you if you're down to play.
Okay.
What has become clearer to you as you've gotten older?
That life is highly unpredictable.
Good one. What crossroads are you at the moment?
I'm transitioning into accepting my aging and having a fire that still wants to come out.
I love that. What have you said yes to that you no longer believe in?
Well, probably yes to somebody in my life that I don't really believe in anymore.
Yeah.
That would be real.
That's a good one. What is a forgiveness that you're still withholding?
Forgiveness. I think I'm still not fully forgiving myself for my past in some relationships.
How have you contributed to the problem you're trying to solve?
I contributed to the problem I'm trying to solve by trying to control other people, places, and things.
Can you be yourself where you are and still fit in?
Yes.
I love that. Why do you say that?
I have really good people around me. I'm in a really great relationship, and I love what I do.
Amazing. What is something you would do if you weren't afraid?
Right. Thinking like I'd probably climb a mountain. I have been thinking about going to Peru, and I keep wondering about whether I can climb up Machu Picchu, but longing desire is to do that this year.
That's cool. I love that. In the next 5 years, if the next 5 years is a chapter of your life, what is that chapter about?
It's about spreading the things that I have learned along the way, sharing them with people like you, and putting my work out, just like continuing to put it out, enhancing all my loved relationships.
I love it. What's a toxic thought you still catch yourself believing?
I can't do this.
If we meet a year from now, what will we be celebrating?
We would be celebrating that we both can do it.
I love that.
And
Why was
that
it?
we do believe in ourselves fully.
I love that. I hope so. Why was it you who felt the responsibility to do the work you do?
Why was it me?
Mm-hmm.
Why was it me that I felt responsible? Because I went to a therapist when my parents were getting divorced, and I felt seen and understood. And I walked out of there and I said, I want to help people like her. But then I realized that I had to work on myself before I could help other people.
I love that. If you could leave my wellish friends with one piece of advice on becoming more well than toxic, what advice would you give them?
Start to trust yourself and take a few deep breaths. Enjoy the nature out there and know that you're valuable and worthy.
I love it. Where can people find you, Cynthia? I'm going to link everything below.
At synthesis.com, or they can get The Curious Voyage to Authenticity on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And so Synthesis is CYNTHASIS.com. And I would love to see people in any arena that I teach in, or I would love to see you back here, Sarah, with our report.
Yes, absolutely.
That would be
Cynthia, thank you. This was really incredible. I mean, this was such an impactful conversation for me. So I know that the person that's listening right now fully resonated with it as well. I really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. I hope that it adds meaning and purpose to people's lives.